What is the biggest threat to Misfits Boxing right now? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to On My Head Son. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. Yes, Misfits Boxing. Well, who's the biggest threat to them? And yes, I'm wearing the old donkey cap this morning because, well, bad hair day. So, Misfits Boxing. I thought they were going to be coming under increasing pressure from other variations of influencer boxing. Most notably, this Aiden Ross character who's doing live stream boxing, right? And there was some shenanigans at the last Misfits event in Nashville, and I made a video about that as well. But now it seems that the Aiden Ross platform, the Aiden Ross kind of interpretation of influencer boxing is kind of hit a brick wall. And the reason why he's kind of pulling out, because the Florida, I think it's Athletics Commission or the Boxing Commission, have basically said you ain't holding any more boxing events. Now, it could be something to do with one of the boxers, one of the participants, basically said, oh, I've got a concussion or brain damage. Now, you could imagine that maybe they just didn't have the safety protocols in place to run these events properly. Whereas you can't really label that as the likes of Misfits because they seem to be doing it properly, at least trying to do it properly, right? But in terms of this Aiden Ross thing, you think, people are going to get hurt. They're going to get injured if just not doing this properly. Now, I know the other channel, the guy from Way Concept, big shout out to him, a really good channel there. And they got a couple of other channels as well, Breakdown. But I think he was involved in the very first one that Aiden Ross held. And he was trying to tell them, you can't do this, you can't do that, you've got to do this in a different way. And I think he wanted to walk away, say, this is just wrong, you're not doing it right, you're going to get somebody hurt. And guess what? Somebody did get hurt, allegedly, and they've complained, and then the Boxing Commission, or whoever it is, said, you're not doing it anymore. Right, okay, so that's that, they're not doing it. But then it seems this Aiden Ross came on, he says, he wants to go into MMA or go into kickboxing or something like that. I mean, it's just, listen, if you really want to pull on something that's trending right now, then obviously jump into MMA, right? That's the one that you want to do. I mean, how he's going to get away with it in terms of commissions and licenses and promoter licenses, who knows? But, that being said, that's an interesting avenue to go. But for me, the most interesting thing is where's the competition for Misfits? Because I thought, actually, not only just Aiden Ross, but any other big YouTuber who wants to put on these kind of events could put on a kind of competition for Misfits in terms of views, in terms of the future, in terms of growing something that could take over. There are other influencer boxing events, of course. There are celebrity boxing events that go on all over the place, right? Barstool hold them as well. There's this hype thing that's just started up recently, and I made a video about that not so long ago. But there are other events, and they're usually really poor, right? Especially the low-end stuff that's usually really poor. So right now, I don't think there's anything to compete with Misfits. But obviously, Misfits has its own demons, and I've talked about this in the past. And do you know what? I've seen a video from Misfits. I think they call it the Misfits Council, where the likes of the owner and the manager of it, Mams Taylor, and I can't remember who he had on there. There's True Geordie on there. There's one of the commentators from the US who was on there. I think it's Roundhouse, I think it's called. And I want to say Keemstar was on there or something like that. They were talking about it, and all the things that they were saying, I don't think they watch my video, right? Because who watches my videos, right? But all the things they were saying, I've been saying about them the last few weeks, right? I've been saying about the events that they have, that they've got to kind of get back to what it was supposed to be about. You can't have these boxers not being prepared. They've got to be influencers. They acknowledge, I feel that they acknowledge that they've let this one slip, and they acknowledge that, and they need to get this back to what it is and make sure that the people coming in to participate in these events actually are prepared and they want to get in there properly. And there's some genuine reason for them to be in there, not just throwing in anybody, and certainly not anybody who's a nobody. Let's say you need to have somebody who's an influence, who's got some kind of name, some kind of clout to go in there, and got to be taking it seriously. So, from that point of view, I would say before watching that video, right, I would say the biggest threat to Misfits was Misfits themselves, that they could be imploding. If they don't get hold of this, and I think I've said this in the past, that they're their own worst demon, they're their own worst nightmare. But if they acknowledge this and they want to try and rectify this, then they're not. They're actually on the right path to getting this right. And I did say that KSI needs to come in. Big names need to come back in to kind of repair the damage a little bit. And maybe on the next event, they try and bring back Slim and some of the other bigger names as well, who've been out of the ring quite a lot recently. So it would be good to get those names back in. It would be good to put on really competitive fights as well. And maybe have these fights who just focus on the entertainment value and the commitment rather than just stepping in the ring or failure to step in the ring. Now, of course, the last show, they had so many disruptions because somebody phoned in a bomb threat and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure where the next event is going to be held. I think it's in UK as well. But, you know, I'm sure it appears to me, and I think they might have said it themselves, and I think other people have said it as well, that perhaps Misfits works better in the UK than it does in the US as well. It seems to be a much better, well-received, event rather than the United States. Now, this could be just a perception. It could be just something that's not coming across very well on TV or online or whatever. But it just seems to be that when it's held here, they seem to be bigger events. They seem to be more engaging events. They seem to be more professionally run. When it's in the United States, it just doesn't seem to have that same kind of drive, that professionalism about it. But the great thing for me is that they seem to have acknowledged this. Now, I don't believe for 1 second that they've listened to me or any of the comments, and I don't aim to be critical of anything or anyone, but I just kind of see it as I see it, and I say it as I say it, because with the best interests at heart for those who are involved, but also so that people can improve and get better. And I'm only an observer, right? I'm not. I don't have a dog in this race, as I say. I'm not an investor in this at all. But I'm kind of invested from an interested point of view, just to see. Well, I want this to improve, but I want it to be done properly at least. They acknowledge that, it appears. So therefore, hopefully, I'm not necessarily they've got to do a complete 180 and it's all going to be repaired in the next event. But if I can see that they've taken those next steps and they've really done a lot of work for the next show and the next show, then you kind of think, okay, right, we're back on track. It's never going to be anything other than the influence of boxing, right? So I think they need to get back to that. Make sure that they're not trying to be something that they're not. But whoever goes into the ring, got to make sure that they are doing it properly, that they are engaging properly. And the likes of the new lad that's just started fighting with them, with Joey Knight, who's got really good talent, he's got some good skills, bring him up. But you've got to find others like him who are just as good as him, who are online, who are producing content, who are just talking and putting themselves out there, and who have the confidence to not only get in a ring, but get in front of people. You can't have people who are shy, who are gun shy, who are not used to this sort of stuff. That's the whole point of having influence, because let's face it, they're loudmouth. They can just get in front of anybody and do whatever. They're used to putting themselves out there. That's what they need to get back to. I'm confident they will, but it's about the matchups. Who are they going to find to get the matchups? And who are they going to find who have the interests of let's say, the event, Misfits, the notion of influence of boxing ahead of their own personal clout and their own personal gains? Because that's one of the big issues that's kind of developed over the last few events, let's say. It seems if the people might be getting into it, they've got more interest in their own kind of success rather than the event itself. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But who is the biggest threat to Misfits Boxing? Before, I would have said it's Misfits themselves. Then I definitely thought it was the other competitors in the market. But who is it now? Who's the biggest threat to influencer boxing? Well, I think the next biggest threat will be a variation of the kind of the other platforms or the other ideas, but they're just doing it a lot better. They'll take the Aiden Ross kind of concept of live streaming and they just make it more professional. Once you make it more professional, more structured and sanctioned with the proper safety protocols in place, then you've got something that will definitely rival Misfits. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now.